Madam Clerk, you want to start with roll call?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I didn't hear you. Commissioner Coates? Here. Commissioner Laird?
Present.
Commissioner Milne? Dave? Or Jim, can you hear us? He was on the phone, so we'll try to get him back.
Oh.
Commissioner Nicolason? Here. Chairman North?
Here. And I think everybody here to start us out in a word of prayer this afternoon. Would you mind coming up a little bit closer so that those that are listening can hear it?
Oh, okay, sure.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, when I think of your position, I think of the need of wisdom. And so I wanted to just read from James 3. Who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show by good conduct that his works are done in the meekness of wisdom. So let's pray. Father, I thank you for these people and their function in our city. The decisions that they make, Father, are weighty and have constant reach far. And so I pray that you give them wisdom, Lord. There's nobody in this room probably has every answer to every question, but collectively working together, I believe you can guide them and lead them to the wisdom that they need to make the decisions that are for the furtherance of the good of our city. So I ask you to bless them with that wisdom, with spirit of meekness and humility, that they can work together as a team and accomplish those things that are best for our city and our county. And I ask it in the name of Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. What was your name, sir?
Walter Hill.
Thank you very much, Walter.
Jim, are you on the phone?
Yeah, I'm on now.
Okay. All right. All right. We'll start out.
All right.
Either one of you.
Good afternoon, the Commission. Thank you for meeting with me. I guess the reason I'm here today is to propose an RFP to put out to get a buildings condition report, a third-party eye to look at the condition of all our buildings and give us a plan to move ahead with updates and maintenance that we need, and maybe that third party can help with the eye that I'm not always seeing and overlooking. I believe that this plan will help identify structural weaknesses, safety hazards, and code violations that, like again I said, I'm not seeing. Will help with a maintenance plan that helps develop by identifying areas that need repair, replacement, and investment decisions. It gives us valuable insight for us or you guys as property owners, revealing the condition and potential cost for repairs and upgrades in the future. Gives us a help with a 5 to 10 year plan, and kind of gives us something that we know what's coming ahead of time.
Go ahead,
Thank you.
Eva.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I'm just here for moral support for the maintenance division. No, I'm just joking. We did work together on the RFP. We looked at the cities as well, with their permission, of course, to see what they had done. And I think it's solid, short and to this point. What we do need to figure out today is a timeline. I know that the draft we sent around had some old dates, but we didn't add any dates because we didn't know what you all were looking for. So if you give us one date, start, the original date, we can just go from there.
Personally, I think that the sooner the better.
Okay,
The sooner we can get things moving forward with an RFP and get somebody online to get that taken care of. It doesn't mean that we need to necessarily address everything immediately, but we need to make sure that we have those items listed so we can move forward and start planning and budget for the things that are coming up. And I'm assuming that you'll work with them as far as telling them what areas you've already addressed.
Yes, sir. In the 5 buildings that I've selected, there are just some key areas, a structural assessment, mechanical systems, the ones that we haven't upgraded already, the ones that we have and that we're already on top of, we'll keep out. As the mechanical systems, it'd be just your HVAC, There will be some extensive plumbing inspections in some of these older buildings we'll really try to dive into some of that. And then elevators and well, we don't have escalators, but our elevators as well. I'd like to really get a timeline on those. We have updated some at the Hall of Justice. This one here is, in this building, is getting a little outdated. Parts are harder and harder to find on this system here, but it's something we should definitely plan for, looking forward in the next 5 years.
And I would like to note a real life example of the elevator in this building. Just last week, there were 4 of your employees stuck on the elevator. Well, I take that back. There were 2 from the public defenders, but nonetheless, we were stuck. So,
I'd also like to have them look at the building envelope, our exterior walls, windows and doors, and our roofing systems. And the last one is just shouldn't be very extensive. I try to stay up to date on these as much as possible, but will be our fire and life safety systems. And then finally, just some interior and exterior finishes. Just kind of I mean, I'm sure you guys are all aware most of our stuff is out of date in our finishes, but
Yeah.
if we want to move forward in that direction, at least we'll have an idea of a start on where to go.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
are we gonna use the same company that the city used?
No, we put out an RFP and then take the best bid from there.
Okay, the only reason I mentioned that is I did contact that company
Mhm.
a year and a half ago, and they called back and the commission hadn't decided yet what they wanted to do, so if you're gonna, that company should give you the bid, then they can probably find, because I gave them a lot of information as well. It's just to bring you up to date from a year and a half ago.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yeah, if they put their name in the hat, that would be great.
Any other questions on this? Commissioner Nicolason?
Mr. Chairman, thanks. Garrett, you had performed a evaluation over the past couple months. I mean, I know you've been working on longer than that. Would you intend, and Lita, maybe this is also a question for you, would the RFP include the information with respect to the 5 buildings we're talking about in the RFP?
Yes.
So you'd attach it to it? So that when people come into it already seeing your work product,
Oh.
that might help guide them, focus them. It's just additional kind of background information as I would see it. But I didn't know if you had thought about that, or if the commission would want that to be part of that material to help them with submitting their proposals.
No, I did not think of that, and thank you for that idea. I think
it would be perfectly acceptable, or we could provide it at some point, but we could definitely attach it to the RFP to give them more context if that's what the board prefers.
The one thing about that is if you do that, that will help reduce the cost, the overall cost, because if they know what you've already corrected, the items that you've already looked at and moved forward on, that doesn't mean they can't look at it, but they're not going to need to spend nearly as much time doing that. An example would be the roof and the air handlers on the detention center. You know, so those are, or the boilers as far as that goes up there. So there's things like that if we did have them itemized out, and that's what I was kind of getting at, is we had something to say, these are areas that we've already worked on. That doesn't mean they're perfect, and we'd like to at least do a cursory, but I think that's something that would be valuable, and it would help them out too. Commissioner Nicolason?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lita and Garrett, you'd want to put some sort of language in your RFP that they're not to rely on it, that it's additional information that might be useful in, helping them understand some of some of the things that might be issues, that kind of lawyer language.
would would the commission like me to be more specific in the areas that, we would be investigating rather than a building as itself? And take out the equipment that we've already exchanged, or just give them that information and have them oversee that as well?
I think I'd put the list in there of what you've already completed.
Mhm.
And that way they know that. But if there's something, a lot of times, you know how it is. When you have a punch list, a lot of times you miss items on a punch list or that should have been on the punch list because when you get to that end, you're so intimately involved with that you see past it. And you just, that's just normal. That's just human nature. When you're very close to something, it's really easy to overlook what you did miss. And so they could go through in those areas and look at them, but they wouldn't have to spend nearly as much time. They could do something short. Commissioner Coates.
Thank you. Garrett, I think you have to have a degree of specificity in what you're looking for, so you don't get too generalized of an overview. With regard to any of the HVAC systems or anything like that, where you're really wanting to nail down upgrades that need to be done and kind of priorities, it'd be better to, in my opinion, deflect from things that maybe you have more of an expertise on, that, or maybe that more of a general knowledge about those things is appropriate.
Okay,
So that's my opinion on that.
thank you.
Anybody else? Jim, did you have anything to add on that?
No, I just appreciate what Garrett's doing, trying to get everything lined out for us to be able to make some educated guesses of what we want to do with a limited budget that's going to be coming up probably.
Well, a lot of these items are going to be long-term budget items. They're not going to be short-term. So
Yes,
I
sir.
think that's the other part
Right.
that we need to really make sure that we do is have them isolate immediate concerns versus concerns that are down the road that we can address and that we
Yep.
can put on the agenda.
And I asked for a priority.
Absolutely. It needs to be prioritized.
And a grading schedule as well.
Yeah. So, okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay.
You're next.
All righty, I'll just stay put.
You and Michael Brown are on your own?
Yeah, we're ahead of schedule.
Yes.
So. All right. I'll let you get started, Garrett, if you want to.
Sure, just 1 second.
Okay.
I'm still new with this thing. I was asked by the commission to put together a small package for the picnic pavilions up on the mountain. These are post frame structures built on a monolithic pad to cut down the cost from a steel building. I can put the package together knowing my knowledge in that area. But other than that, I haven't been to Bear Trap much. I don't know the location or the grading or the geo of these sites. That would still be something that takes time. I'm not sure we need to dig into it too deep just because I don't know. I haven't seen it. But the information that I put out is just what your generic post frame not lean to, but a
Shelter.
covered patio shelter would run, just as a package. That's not including the foundation or the monolithic pad or dirt work or labor to
And
build
you're
it.
looking at 24 by 36.
24 by 36 was the size.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
which is approximately the same size as the ones that we used to have up there. So,
Yes.
ones that were moved.
Is that correct?
And
Same size?
I don't recall what the old ones were.
take my word for it,
Okay. Yes.
they are. That's about the same size. So that's the size of the structure that we have at, or at least the pad at Ponderosa Park too. So, these are going to be basically it's the same size. I did check with Brad and previous building inspector, and monolithic pours for that size are fine. Obviously, everything would have to have an engineer stamps for wind and snow load.
Yes, sir. These packages are for 100-pound snow load, and they're pre-stamped.
Okay. All right. And what? Give us a breakdown on your cost.
So, one sec.
And this is assuming that we put them in the previous areas that were already.
Yes, this is not dirt work or concrete. The quote that I've received is a little bit over what it should, just because they drew it up different and made it a post frame rather. If we put them on a mono with some nice SIPS anchors, I forget what they're called. Stable wall anchors. There they are. It'll give us a better look. Anyhow, so the package that I put together was right at $14,925 per shelter. That's just the package.
Okay, and how much for the concrete?
The two quotes that I've got from local contractors are anywhere from, actually three, sorry, local contractors, anywhere from $3 to $11 a square foot for a 4-inch pad.
So less than 10,000
Yes, sir,
per pad.
per pad.
Okay.
Any estimates on construction costs?
I have not.
Any idea?
No, I was gonna kind of lean on Michael in the direction he wanted to take, and also with the commission, being that I'm not part of the Parks Department. But I would assume if we build one at a time, we wouldn't necessarily have to put out an RFP, but if we built all three at once, we're gonna have to put out bids for it.
So you think we could do all three of them for under 125?
I believe so.
Any questions?
Well, yeah, that's me. Let's
Yeah.
see what the contractors think differently, but
Michael?
I believe it can be.
Yeah. Did you have anything to add?
Just wanted to add that, I looked at some of the metal kits, 20 by 34 metal structure. That one to meet a 100-pound snow load was $90,000 just for the kit. The 6-inch slab that was specified when we had an engineered design structure, that bid was around $23,000 for concrete. That required some geotech. There's mention that you'd like to put them all back in the same locations. These shelters a good location to have one. That would be the primary one I'd do first. The old south shelter had a spring nearby. It was close to the property line, close to the cabin. So in the past, I've had staff tell me that there's been some conflict between the private property and the public there. Under Mike Hagler, when I first hired on, we had come up with 2 new locations for the south one and the north one. The north one could probably stay where it is, but it's a very dusty location because it's right next to the road as you come in. So I can go, however the commission wants to go, I will pursue that. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I did look at the bid for the city park one up here on Center Street that they put in. That's a 30 by 30. That kit was $46,000. That is without the 100-pound snow load, so that price would increase with design to get the 100-pound snow load and 105-mile-an-hour wind load. So I quickly reviewed what what Garrett put together. I mean, it looks like a good solid kit. It is wood, not metal. Parks in 21, was really pushing for metal structures so that, the kids aren't carving into them, aren't putting eyelets to hang their hammocks, things of that sort. But from a cost standpoint, obviously, these are significantly less expensive. I would be curious to see if a 4-inch slab, if we don't have the right compaction underneath that, I'd be a little concerned with the 4-inch slab, just from my personal experience.
Well, monolithic is not just a 4-inch slab. It's thickened. It's 18 inches, 18 to 24 inches on the sides, and it's tapered back in. So it's not. It does work. It's all tied together with concrete and steel, and so it's not just a slab. It's actually a thickened unit, so it's working all together.
And the last thing to take into account from a budgetary standpoint is we do need to make these ADA accessible. So whether that requires concrete level parking or we can do it with aggregate, but that requires more maintenance to maintain ADA compliance in that aspect since they are public structures.
Garrett, what'd you find out on that?
What I found is we would need to make one of them ADA, and like Michael said, we could do either a hard packed aggregate or, we can make a 10 by 12, 120 square foot, one parking unit with as long as we do our grading correctly, we should be able to just add a little bit of concrete to make them ADA compatible.
Okay. All right. So, any other questions about any of these?
One question to Garrett. Could you
Yes,
do
sir.
anything about the clock?
Yes, sir. Do you
Like
not like it?
Doesn't look like it's running.
Oh, it's running.
It's correct.
10 to 2?
No, 10,
Oh, it is an
10
hour
to
behind.
3.
You are right. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Yeah.
I can't read a
It's
clock.
just an hour behind. It's not bad.
I will change that. Yes, sir.
So, it's close.
Yeah, you got me.
It's right somewhere. So, all right. Anything else on that?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Nicolason?
We've been, since I've been on the commission, and I know you and Commissioner Milne, since before that, have been talking about bear trap shelters, and I know it's Michael, you spent a lot of time on it. The Parks Advisory Board, I know, spent a lot of time on it. I know the public would like to see some shelters up there. I do have some concerns about saving some money now and having us or future commissions or the public regret it if we don't have our engineering dialed in, whether it's on the geo, whether it's on the dirt side of it, and making sure we've got that built in right, making sure we've got the right kind of structure that we're not going to have a problem with in 5 or 10 years, because I would hope that these things last far longer than that. We made the point before to you, Michael, that this commission, that these are still public structures, not, something we're going to put up in our backyard or at our ranch. And so I would be in favor of trying to put something down in writing, try to circulate it with this commission. I don't have anything in front of me now. I don't know that we're being asked to make a decision today, but my thinking is that we still want probably outside professionals to stamp it or whatever to cover our bases, whether it's from a liability perspective or just being good public custodians of the public funds. So I appreciate it. I'm not opposed to this less expensive route. But we've had these conversations before, and I think there's always this trade-off. So it's not a critique of anybody. It's just the perspective. Thanks.
These are similar size and design from the ones that were taken down. The ones that were taken down basically had corner posts that were solid pieces of wood instead of composite, several pieces. So you lose, obviously, you get more strength when you do it that way. And Garrett, in your opinion, would there be any problem with wrapping the uprights with
No.
metal so that you prevent that people from cutting them up or anything else?
Yes, you can wrap them in wood, composite rock. Any of those options would keep vandals away from destroying them.
Okay.
And then with them being built on a mono, say if something is damaged or severely vandalized, it doesn't take much to take the weight off of that one post and replace it with another. Not necessarily an easy fix, but a cost-efficient fix.
So, Michael, did you have something else to
Well, I
say?
just want to remind the commission that when we did take these out to bid for the custom shelter option that, Enberg provided us, that was, the original direction we went versus the kits. Single shelter was $226,000 for the ADA park in the concrete and the custom structure. So I just wanted to remind you, gentlemen, of that cost point, cause, that was pretty significant and was quite a bit higher than what we had budgeted,
Yeah.
in that parks budget. My next question is I assume that I need to, work on getting this into the parks budget for this next fiscal year. Is that the plan for providing funding, or does the commission have a different option they're looking at for funding these projects?
I don't think we have gotten to that point yet. Commissioner Milne, did you have any questions or anything to add on this?
No, I just agree that, we need something in writing.
Yep. So, okay. All right. Commissioner Coates?
So I want to make sure we're not getting into another ski lodge issue here. We want to make sure that when we build something, it's built properly. So, the input you both provided is excellent. Michael, do you know what the geotech specifications were for some of the shelters that were specifically mentioned?
Yes, I have
Thank you.
reports for that.
Okay, can you get those to us? That'd be enlightening to see.
Those were also in different locations too, so.
Except for
Right.
these
I think the important thing to remember is we're building in a place where there were necessities for some geotechnical that an engineer alluded to. So I think that considering all those things, if you guys can work together, come up with some kind of a solution that works, then I think we'll be in good shape.
Commissioner Nicolason?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It seems to me that we ought to give Michael and Garrett some direction on whether we are the point of contact for this or whether Parks Board is the point of contact for this. I think Michael brings up a good point that, is this part of our budget? Or is this coming out of the BOCC or 1 cent or whatever? My gut tells me, because of where we've been on this parks, on the bear trap shelters, is that it would be parks. And that you would be coordinating and leaning on Garrett, but it's not a facilities or maintenance or a BOCC thing. And so then it's more on your list. And I think the timing is great for budgeting for the next fiscal year, since you're working on that already. Just my thoughts.
Go ahead, Michael.
Mr. Chairman, I can work on that, and I'll work on getting a memo, to the Board of County Commissioners, but I'll copy that to the Board of Trustees. My last question is, Commissioner Nicolason brought up, we want to make sure we do something that the public appreciates, so my next question is, with this, proposal that Garrett's put together, that design, do I need to get some public comment on this to see what they want? I mean, sometimes public comment can bite you because they want the Taj Mahal versus just a simple shade structure. But I didn't know with as much that's been going on with the bear trap shelters over the last 4 years, if we need to, maybe get some public input on this.
Actually, almost 6. So,
I have a question.
go ahead, Commissioner Laird.
So if we put it on the budget process for the next fiscal year, it'd be 2027 before you ever get a shot at this, wouldn't it? Am I calculating that right?
No, there'd be a possibility they could be built this fall, in fiscal year 25, or in
26.
25. The fiscal year 26 is adopted mid-July. If we have all our ducks in a row, we could have it out to bid and hopefully find somebody to build it.
And build it in 2026?
But actually
25.
build it in 25 in late August, September.
These are fairly simple.
Yes, sir. They shouldn't take a good skilled crew long to build.
So, as long as you have good compaction underneath there and everything works all right, that's the nice thing about monolithic is just it spreads that. And the old ones were basically a thickened monolithic slab. They were just a lot thicker because concrete was really cheap back then. So, but it varied in depth too, but they were basically just a monolithic slab. Commissioner Nicolason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Going to Michael's question of public comment, or, I think at the very least, and it would be easy for us to, at maybe our next Parks Board meeting, if it could be done, in our packet, some of this, your memo, maybe if we can put together some sort of elevation or typical, whatever the manufacturer might show on their website for the kit, and then the cost breakdown, and then, if we have it as part of the packet, people have at least some notice and can come talk to us or talk to the Parks Board at whatever meeting it's considered at, to at least get some input, and then maybe that Parks Board can decide if more public opinion and comment would be appropriate or not.
Okay. You guys need any more direction on that, or you happy with that?
I could provide something off of that information.
Yep. And I'll be happy to help any further
Okay,
needed.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
So, all right, Michael, you can stick around for a second because we wanted to talk about the other possibility that we're looking at.
Thank you.
Thanks, Garrett. Appreciate it. Both sides. So, we were contacted by Ashley. About 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? That there was a possibility that they were looking at some earmarks for specific type of projects, i.e. water, sewer, and that was pretty much it as far as what she was looking at. Fortunately, that fell in line with Michael having the engineered drawings for the water system out at Alcova Trailer Park and working within that. So we kind of reached out to Ashley and said to make sure that that was something that would actually work into that. And my understanding is that Mills and City of Casper have also applied for funding from that earmark as well. But Michael, you want to kind of fill in a little bit more, or you want me to?
No, I can go ahead. So about a year ago, we put an RFP out to get an engineer on board, and we got WWC under contract to design a replacement water and sewer system for our Alcova trailers and clubs and marinas. The system we have there is antiquated. It's anywhere from 50 to 70 years old in places. We're constantly repairing the system and just needs an upgrade. So they came up, did all the surveys. It was decided to put in an all-new replacement and abandon the old system in place. This new system, water, sewer, stormwater, and overlay of the asphalt. The engineer's estimate's at just over $4 million. It's a pretty significant price point. Eventually, it needs to be done. I would like to be able to have this done in the next 3 to 5 years. However, our restricted sewer fund is very insignificant to that price point. I think there may be $200,000 in it at this point. So we need to find some way to fund this, whether that's by this earmark or raising the rates significantly, or lot assessments, or some manner to assist the county in this replacement. So Commissioner North approached me about this earmark, and so I got the final plans, I got the DEQ application and the engineer's estimate, and we provided that to Ashley, the grant writer, to get that to the congressional office. That's where we stand now. I'm currently requesting letters of support from parties that utilize the system: the Trailer Park, Casper Boat Club, the Alcoa Marina, and the Casper Water Ski Club. So those letters of support, I've received one. I should have the rest of them by Monday. So that's kind of the update of the overall design and plan we have. The entire point of WWC was to have construction drawings ready on the shelf, so when we came up with the funding, we could go.
And this just kind of happened I mean, it was fast. It was really fast between when we found out, and it just happened that Michael had everything put together. But at this point, we were asked for letters of recommendation from different groups, and what I was going to ask is if the commission itself wanted to add a letter along with that. They did send us a template, and I just forwarded that on to Heather. They just sent that out this morning, or yesterday, I guess. And so, I guess at this point in time, I was just wondering if the commission would be willing to sign a letter of support for that. I mean, we're talking about a $4 million project, and if we can get that taken care of, it's gonna help us out a lot. Commissioner Coates.
Michael, if we were to pursue this and the earmarks came in, we requested $4 million, and they gave us $700,000. What would your thought process be on that? 'Cause that's a likely scenario.
In that instance, I think we would probably have to turn down the grant, because there's no way in the next 2 years that I could come up with, over $3 million to fund that, not without heavy lot assessments, and that'll be severe public outcry in that manner.
Could you see this being a phased project?
So we looked at it during design, when we were starting this, about phasing it. The problem with phasing it is we have to tie into an antiquated system that has some non-compliant issues with it, so I'm not sure if the DEQ would approve us phasing it, and I think it would be more efficient to do it all at once. The other issue is it's a seasonal area, so there's a 6-month time window to get everything done. We could possibly look at phasing it, but we're not replacing right next to the existing water line. The existing water and sanitary sewer are underneath all of the trailers. They run through the middle of the lots. They're very difficult to access. So we did not set it up as a phased approach. We could possibly do that, but it doesn't solve the problem.
Thank you.
Commissioner Laird.
This is just a fun question. Can we just turn all this back over to the Bureau of Reclamation?
Yeah, if the county commissioners decide to terminate our management agreement, we could do that.
And then we're off the hook for the $4 million?
So, yeah, yeah, we'd be off the hook for anything, any improvements out there. Now, the water and sewer systems that the county operates, are not required to be operated by the county. The Bureau Rec doesn't, I'd have to read the management agreement, but I don't know if it dictates that we have provide water and sewer, for these private exclusive use areas.
Have you seen the memo that the people put together from the trailer court yet?
The most recent one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working on a response to submit to the county
Oh, okay,
commissioner
good.
on that.
I wanted to make sure you had
I,
that.
I did provide a response to a previous letter back in June of 2024, that I did provide to the county commissioners.
I thought they had some good ideas, but I didn't feel like I knew enough about it to comment on it, and so they provided their memo for everybody to take a look at. So I'm glad you have it, because when you mention extreme costs and hikes of rent and all of that thing, I know that the public doesn't want to hear those kind of
Right.
comments.
Yeah, and if you refer to my response in late June, it brings, I have some comparables for other mobile home parks and whatnot, and we're basically in line with that. And then in 2026, the lot permits for the entire lake are gonna be renewed. They renew every 5 years. And so we'll be doing a new, rental table with a new fixed escalator rate for that. So that's probably not gonna, excite very many people out there for their.
But that's coming when?
I'll start that process here in the next couple months, but by May 1st of 2026, we'll have a new, lot permit for individuals to review and sign. And
That's
that'll-
typically when they adjust rates and all that
Yes,
kind of
every
thing.
5 years, yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this wasn't on our agenda. Michael's here. This just came up, I guess, as I understand it. I don't think I've seen any of the background paperwork or whatever that was sent to council yet. So I don't know if you've provided a memo on, I mean, I don't think we need more than a sentence or two on the problem out at Alcova. And maybe a sentence or two on what this opportunity is, and maybe a sentence or two on what the next step is. And then if we have a letter that is drafted that we're being asked to approve to be signed by the chairman, then I think I'll have enough information to have an opinion on which way to go on this. I heard from Commissioner Coates kind of something that I'd be a little anxious about, which is, yeah, we get an offer for $700,000 of 4 million or more. What do we do? And so I think that we need to be thoughtful about it, but it sounds like potentially a good opportunity.
Thank you, Commissioner Nicolason. The earmark opportunity, I received information from the chairman on that, and so I provided, the drawings and the cost estimate, for them to submit. And then I got a request yesterday to get some letters of support, and so that's the extent of, where that came from. I didn't pursue it, but I can definitely write a memo as to why this funding model, this opportunity would be important to help fund this project.
And I just forwarded that email that we got from Congressman Hageman's office yesterday to all of you. So,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman.
Michael, who are we asking letters of support from?
So I requested from the Casper Boat Club, the Casper Water Ski Club, the Trailer Park Association, and the Alcova Marina. All of these groups are tied into this system and utilize it in some form or another. So they're the end users of this system.
Commissioner Milne, did you have an additional comment?
Yes, thank you. I'm also in agreement with Commissioner Coates as far as where we may be and how hard we need to look at this once we get to that point where commitments are being made. I don't see a problem with an actual commitment letter. Just trying to see what is out there, what we can do for these people out at trailer court, trying to get that system and water system, the marina, the boat club, all that. I don't have a problem with that. I think we do have some wiggle room here, though, as far as this is only a letter of commitment and asking for support to keep moving forward with projects. There's no commitment at this point, so I'm comfortable with it. I'm done.
Okay. Yeah, that you are correct. There is no commitment at this time. This is just a letter of support for the request.
So
Commissioner Laird.
we're gonna turn this over to the Parks Board at some point in time. So is it your understanding that they're the ones who'd be making the decision on whether you raise the rates and how you run the trailer court, I suppose, huh?
Correct. In addition to the approval of the Bureau Rec. The Bureau Rec reviews these lot permits as well as the fee structure for annual rent on that, so.
So
yes.
then it may be that this management agreement has to be changed from the commission managing it to the Parks Board managing it.
I'll have to review that. I know a commissioner signed it and executed it, but I cannot recall if it references Natrona County or Natrona County Parks as the managing partner.
That's something to consider. I mean, I haven't looked into the legality of the whole thing, but if the Parks Board's taking all that over and they're the ones to hear the comments from the people and how they're gonna handle raises and repairs and what have you,
Yeah, and I'm still unclear on that as to which board is the responsible party for, executing budget, vouchers, payments, payroll, IT, all of those things. So I know this is a work in progress, so I'm sitting here patiently for
Yeah.
answers on how this is going to operate in the future.
I'd venture to say, Michael, that the commission's gonna be liable for the money and the board's gonna be liable for how they put everything together. That would be my guess.
That would be the traditional way to do it, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on that? All right, Michael, before you leave, you want to talk about the MOU with Visit Casper on Hell's Half Acre?
Yes, real quick, with Hell's Half Acre, we have two grants. Actually, Visit Casper is, the one responsible for the monetary part of the grants. There's a grant for $90,000 from the rec board to build a boardwalk and viewing area. There's a $100,000 grant for site improvements, including outhouse, tables and signs and whatnot, and then maintenance of the parking lot. Due to my staff changes and experience level in my staff, we are now pursuing, Visit Casper is now pursuing contract bid for construction of this. And so, as Parks Director, I'll be overseeing and involved with that, but they'll make the financial decisions and get the contract bids versus me putting together material lists, submitting to them to purchase and then invoice the grants. So it's taken some of the responsibility off the Parks Department and putting it on Visit Casper to execute these grants and make sure that things are constructed. But the Parks Department will be overseeing everything and approving everything and working as the, owner rep or manager of the improvements at Hell's Half Acre. So the MOU is just a simple understanding that that's how this is gonna operate.
Madam Attorney, have you got any additional information on that you can share with us?
Mr. Chairman, just that a lady, I can't think of her name, from Visit Casper put together a draft MOU. I reviewed it, added a bit of language to it. It appeared to be good to go, so I've given it to Michelle. I don't know if it's in your packet.
It is on the packet, yeah. It's on the consent agenda tonight because that's the reason why we wanted to make sure that we talked about that a little bit, so everybody, if anybody had any questions about that, they could ask those. So, So basically, it's not going to affect the county at all, other than we're just allowing Visit Casper to spend the money that they're getting for the grant for the
Well,
operation.
And it's not even that, the grants were issued to Visit Casper, they were not issued to the county, so they're,
So-
you know, in the past, Visit Casper would have funding and they would provide it to the county and then the county would expend that money. This is just a different model. They will maintain the funds, expend the funds. I would just oversee the projects and approve what's happening out there.
Anybody got any questions about that? Commissioner Milne, do you have any questions about that?
Nope.
Right.
I trying to beat Dallas here. No, everything sounds fine. Yeah, we just need to. I'm confident Michael can figure this out, and we can kind of give him some direction, or the Parks Board can. It's not a problem.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Michael. Yes.
I had emailed everyone the final copy, so to speak, of the resolution regarding, it's a long one, establishing uniform procedures, costs, and charges for inspecting, copying, and producing public records pursuant to the Public Records Act. This has been in the works a little bit. I know I did receive some legitimate feedback on changes that needed to be made, and I did make those changes. And then there was a short delay because we weren't sure how the new software for reporting online would work, and then some family emergencies, but here we are. Does anyone have any questions, feedback, clarification on the concerns they had earlier? Dallas, or sorry, excuse me, Commissioner Laird. I know you had concerns about the fees.
I guess it's just a general question more than anything. That is, does this make it easier or harder for our public to get their documents?
It's the same, Commissioner, because they either request it online, or if they're unable to request through our portal, then we still accept paper requests. This was put into place for two reasons. One, if anyone in the county wants to charge, we have to have this in place. I don't know anyone who's planning to or not to, but the second of that was regarding some sort of policy regarding submitting requests online. We are looking for consistency throughout the county, and in my opinion, that makes it easier. However, again, we still accept paper copies.
So it doesn't prevent people, elderly people, from coming down and walking into Tracy Good's office and say, do you have a copy of my deed, and getting that?
No, it does not. And in fact, it is a little confusing, and I know working with IT, we've tried to, we do work together on this. Certain county elected officials and or agencies have their own statutory authority. Ms. Keister does, Ms. Good does, and they run theirs how they run theirs. This would be applicable to those who do not have separate statutory or other authority, such as the BOCC or, say, the assessor's office.
Or I should add, older lawyers wanting to go into Miss Keister's office and get a copy of a complaint from 30 years ago.
Right.
They still gonna be able to do that?
They are.
Okay.
I have not asked her specifically.
She's
but
shaking her head, yes.
I don't believe anyone in the county intends to use this as a weapon and charge unnecessarily. It's just if somebody chooses, or I guess a department chooses to. And then we incorporated, again, the policy for applying for records online. It will be new to everyone, but for most citizens, it would speed it up and be more helpful, because most are used to email, not everyone. And we still accept paper requests, or we will.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you. I'm here for the next one too.
Yeah. Stacy, you're up.
Good afternoon. I provided a memo, out detailing what the grant is for. So, on behalf of Natrona County, the state forestry applied for a grant, $125,000 to rewrite our current CWPP, Community Wildfire Protection Plan. So basically what we need is just some signatures on some paper if you guys are willing to move forward with it.
And we realize, I think, the entire grant with all of the attachments, some of them require a signature, some don't. Some other individuals have signed, such as the
Drug-free
drug-free
workplace
workplace,
and
and other data collected and required from the sheriff's department that Ms. Patterson signed off on. The forms that we're asking the chair to sign off on.
would be the grant agreement. I think that one,
Yes.
and lobbying. So, debarment and regarding lobbying, there's 3 different signatures that would need to be.
And those are all similar, or if not the same, to a road and bridge grant that you all signed off on, those forms, just so you know. And Mr. Nicolason may be more familiar with those because he signed them, but they are the standard forms that the feds require.
A lot of forms.
A lot of forms, a lot of paper.
Tracy?
Mr. Chairman, Stacy, who will be responsible for the reporting requirements of this grant?
I will, or my office will be, yeah.
That makes our clerk happy.
Yes,
So-
I'm sure it does.
And I believe this is also on the consent agenda. We just wanted you to have
Yes.
the heads up because it's a new grant.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Any other questions?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Jill, I think you're up.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. We, as the HR Steering Committee, are here today to request permission to go out for an RFP for an independent wage study. Our first project as the HR Steering Committee has been to update our job descriptions. And in doing that project, we have come to the conclusion that we feel it would be in our best interest as the county, not only for budgetary purposes, but also for retention of employees, to have an independent wage study. A wage study was done in 2007 for Natrona County. And at that time, the county was found to not be a competitive employer for 36% of the salary survey benchmark job classes. So that was in 2007. And so there were some recommendations that were made during that time. One was to enact a permanent prevailing rate related salary policy, utilize a permanent salary range table, adopt a base salary range assignments. And then there were also other recommendations that were done that we have partially accomplished in the last couple wage surveys that Danielle has provided for us. One was adopt a one-time implementation salary increase plan to place employees closer to midpoint, bring the salaries of all employees to the minimum, freeze the salaries of employees whose current salary exceeds the maximum of the salary range for their position. Now, mind you, going back to that 2007 wage study, the maximum for a clerk, if you will, was $40,000. That was 18 years ago. And that is what we are currently starting our clerks at today. So that's the minimum of what we're starting our clerks at today. So kind of food for thought there. Some pros for a third-party vendor: time and efficiency, expertise in compensation and classifications, and a validated study without bias. Some key reasons to do an independent wage study would be competitive compensation, which attracts qualified candidates; employee retention, boosts morale and reduce turnover rates; informed decision-making for the board, allows strategic decisions regarding compensation packages to be made; transparency. Access to wage survey information can promote transparency in the workplace, allowing employees to understand how their pay is determined; and salary benchmarking. Wage surveys provide a reference point for comparing our pay structure against industry peers and identifying areas for improvement. Survey data provides a relevant basis for HR's decisions on salary, incentives, and bonus plans when meeting with management, which would be the board, and employees. In working tirelessly on updating job descriptions, it has become very apparent that our positions require skill sets, abilities, and adaptability that are more than a clerk. Court employees are exposed to graphic images, sensitive subject matters, court procedures, etc. It is more than just receiving a document and putting a file stamp on it. Election staff are tasked with conducting a countywide election that is accurate, efficient, and secure. Again, more than just producing a ballot and putting it through a machine. These are just a few examples of the requirements of our employees. These duties look simple and straightforward because we have employees that have the skills and abilities to perform them. Due to short timelines, inadequate job descriptions, and budget restraints, the last two wage studies have not accomplished all that needs to be done for the county, which is gaining critical insights about competitive compensation, allowing the county to make informed decisions about compensation, and maintain pay equity, which is key to attracting and retaining and motivating employees. We have a solid start to this process, and we need to keep the momentum going forward. Thank you.
No, I think you covered everything.
Good job.
Anyone have talked enough?
Madam Clerk, have we got an estimate on approximately what this might run?
We do not. Right now, I think we're just in the planning stage. We would like to have the ability to put out an RFP, and then going forward, that would, those numbers would come in to see where we would be sitting at doing this study.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Laird?
have we done this in the past?
In 2007.
What it cost us then?
If I remember correctly, and please don't quote me, I'm thinking it was around 60, I don't know, 65,000. I'm not sure. I can't really remember,
It was
to be
over
honest.
$50,000.
And they also included
18 years ago.
Yeah, and they also included the benefits. And we are taking on a huge burden by updating the job descriptions. We have spent hours. I mean, how many hours have we spent, just the three of us?
Over 60.
Over 60. And that doesn't include what we've done individually on our own. I have 14 job descriptions that I've had to update. So this is a very time-consuming project. And if we're going to put all this time and effort in this project, we need to keep this momentum going. We can't, for budgetary purposes also, we can't just throw numbers at a wall and hope they stick. We need to have a solid plan in place.
And my understanding is that you've gotten the new job descriptions from all the department heads. Is that correct?
We're still working on them, but yes,
Okay.
everybody's on board and we're on
All
the
right.
last phase of the project.
Okay, how much more have we got to go to get those accomplished?
Well, the final touches after we've met with everybody, so
We have to completely finish up at least a couple more departments.
yeah, and we've got at least another month ahead of us.
Okay, but we're getting there. We're getting close where you can hand something over to them where they actually can look at it. And
Well, I would like to invite the commissioners to take a look at the job descriptions just for some of our clerks, just to realize, just to get an in-depth view of what we are expecting of these employees.
Mr. Chair, I would like to say that I did talk to a couple of other counties who have done current market studies. Campbell County did a market study that was a 2-year project. This included updating their job descriptions, so they had the independent company do their job descriptions. It was a 2-year project and it cost them $150,000. So what I can say is we're already ahead of the curve on that because we'll have our job descriptions updated. The city of Gillette just currently updated their salary study. Now, granted, they stay on top of their salary studies with this company every 3 years, and the updated one was $27,000. So it truly just depends, and that's why we're requesting the permission to do an RFP to see truly what this would cost us in the end, what we need before we move further.
Just out of curiosity, have you reached out to any of these other counties to see what their job descriptions were versus what, okay.
Yep.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't trying to completely reinvent the wheel. If we can, utilize some of their information,
Mr.
sure
Chairman,
helps out a lot.
I believe in working smarter, not harder, so we have, utilized a lot of information from various counties, but I will tell you, once ours are done, they will be copying off of us, guaranteed.
Question.
I think Commissioner Coates.
Thank you for coming before us, presenting that. I think it's vital that we do a salary study. I think that's the only way we're gonna be competitive, and I think things will get more and more competitive as we move on, so you have my support.
Okay. Commissioner Laird.
Danielle, do you think that the research you've done, where do you think Natrona County is in terms of paying their employees compared to the other counties?
Well, I think that we're competitive with the accurate job descriptions that we have now. What we have found in the past, and specifically with Jill's, with her area, we weren't able to compare her old job descriptions to the market data, and so I think we're behind the curve with her court clerks. Other areas, I think we're competitive. I think we're probably pretty competitive with our pay, as Tracy said, with her clerks. But it's just keeping up on those and getting the job descriptions that are outdated up to speed.
There's no way we can do this ourselves and save $150,000 and use that to pay the employees more money?
Well, to answer that, I have done 2 different salary studies, and I can say that I am trained to do them. However, it's not my expertise area. I don't do compensation every single day. The hard part is when we do them internally, it's almost like we're handicapped with that job or with doing the salary study because we put barriers in place. Try to stick within this budget. Try to stick with doing grades and doing 2% or 1.5% or 1% between each grade. So I think having an independent person from the outside might give you a better idea of what we need.
Well, I'm for paying our employees what they should be getting, that's for sure. So I don't want anybody to misunderstand my comment about this. It's just, I know there's some jobs we can't fill. It's the money. Of course, then there's always, now we're facing a situation where we're probably gonna have less money next year because of the issue with the property tax.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Laird, I have 2 open positions. Right now, I have 28 applications, and 2 of those applicants, in my opinion, would be qualified to fill those positions. That doesn't give me much to choose from.
And you believe I take it, Ms. Good, that people aren't getting paid enough
Mr. Chairman,
considering?
Commissioner Laird, I'm not going to say that they're not getting paid enough. I want to be competitive. I want them to get paid the market. And I'm not sure if that is 100% true right now with the current wages that we have set. That's why I would like this study done as well to make sure that we are affording them that competitive pay.
Thank you.
You guys got my support. Do you have something to add? Commissioner Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Danielle, you've worked a lot since I've been on the commission. You did one in 2022. You did one like either 23, 24, or during 24. I know that we had discussions last year about the committee, this committee getting together, and I thought the first order of business was getting the job descriptions done. I wish we had those done by now. I also thought that this committee was going to be able to work together to get this, to do more of this internally, to get this wage study done. Because I think that there was some, if not disagreement, then at least some concerns with one department or elected officials, staff, that maybe we weren't comparing apples to apples. And I think that's probably very true that we weren't doing that. And so I think that you all have spent a lot of time trying to get us to a better place. I am concerned that we might be going outside before we really need to. My thought was maybe the wage committee could, come up with its analysis and then have an outside third party actually kind of review it, or not audit it, but kind of confirm or point out issues or whatever. I think that if we do a request for proposal, I've not done one myself, but if I were consulting, I would, and as an attorney, I would always need to satisfy myself about kind of the underlying facts. So if you've done if you've done the job descriptions and feel comfortable with those, I think that outside consultant is still going to need to really understand those and at least double check what you've done. So I think that even though you've spent all this time, 60 hours, and whatever additional time you have, because I hear that you have a couple more departments still to do, or at least, work on a little bit more. I think that outside consultant is going to have to really evaluate that stuff too. So I think we're going to be on the higher end of whatever this dollar amount might be than the lower, for all those reasons. I think that now is the time to, if we're going to do this, then to come up with maybe a better number than, what did I hear, 27,000 to 150,000. I think if we have a better number for that, everybody's working on their budgets already. Come up with a better ballpark, even if it's still just a ballpark, and put that into our budget somewhere to see if we can do it. I think we need to look at it as part of this next fiscal year. So I think there's work to be done. I'm not convinced we need to do it exactly like a third party do the wage study for us. I know you have resources and have relied on those resources before, whether it's City of Casper or the state, other counties, to gather this information up. And that's, other than your time, that's at zero cost. So I hear what everybody's saying, and I want to take care of our employees too, but I do have those, at least, observations at this point. Thank you.
I personally think that as long as we got the job descriptions, that it's good to have a outside set eyes looking at things. I think that gives you a true representation, because it's like you said, you don't have that biased. You don't sit there and put the sideboards on things and say, okay, this is good, but you have to fit within this little narrow area. That doesn't work. If we're truly interested in what our employees need to be paid and compensated for the jobs they do, then we need to have someone that doesn't have that bias looking at it. So that's my opinion.
Just a question, do you need to have action on this right away?
Well,
There's nothing better than the present moment, in my opinion, generally.
I don't know if we necessarily, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Laird, I don't know if we necessarily need action on it today. However, as we're getting closer to the budget season, RFPs do take a while to compile and have those put out, give them adequate time to submit those. So I think we kind of thought timing was just right as far as getting the RFP started, and then when they came in, then we would know what we were looking at for budget purposes going forward if we were to in fact continue on with the project.
So it sounds like another deal that isn't gonna happen till next year. Is that true?
That would be correct.
Next fiscal year.
Next
So
fiscal year.
it'll come out of next year's budget.
Correct.
But this is something that we can look to and start planning ahead now.
And Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we have always, my whole time here, when we're doing the budget, we've always done the wages last. And maybe this is too premature to talk about this now, but I think that philosophy needs to be turned around. I think we need to look at wages first, because we're always, at the end of the budget, we're saying, okay, how much do we have left to do compensation with? I don't, in my opinion, I don't think that's the way we should be handling this. We do have a structure, we have started a structure, and I think that's a very wonderful starting point, and I'm very proud and thankful for what the commission has allowed us to do. I am grateful for that, but I just think we need to build on that and have a tighter lock on what we're trying to do.
I agree.
All right. Any other comments? Jim, did you have anything to add? Commissioner Milne?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, Jim, you're up. Commissioner Milne,
Yes, sir.
you're the next one on the list for the
I am.
Parks Board trustees.
Okay.
If you don't have anything, that's okay. But you were just the next one on there. I didn't know what you wanted to discuss.
I don't think I had anything to discuss necessarily. No, it doesn't have any comment or anything on there, does it?
No, it doesn't. It just says, yep.
I couldn't hear any of that.
She was basically, she was talking about how we'd start rotating off. So, the Board of Trustees, and I'm not sure we're ready to answer that question. So,
No.
so,
Yeah, no, that may have just been free thought that Michelle overheard. You know how I am.
okay. Easy enough. So, all right, with that, we will move on to legal and any legal updates that we may have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the first update is the public hearing that's on the agenda for this evening. Mr. Hagler, as you know, was appointed our viewer for this petition to vacate these portions of these roadways. He's not going to be available. We've tried to provide you with all the material, and I know a representative for the petitioner will be here. If there's a report to give, I suppose I'll be the one giving the report, and just wanted to make you aware of what the status of that hearing will be this evening.
Okay.
If there's any questions.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Just that I had sent you an email earlier in the week or last week about the appraisals. We've gotten one quote so far. We're supposed to get a second for the parcels that are proposed for the land swap. I don't have that information as of yet. I'll provide that to you when I get it.
Okay. From conversations, I think, and we'll see what the rest of the commission feels like on this, but I think it's important that we get the large parcels appraised, that the little slivers, the little slivers that are very small, that are pretty insignificant. I don't know if we necessarily need to have those appraised. What's the pleasure of the commission on that? Commissioner Nicolason?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I generally agree. I think that we really start talking about appraisals when we start talking about the health department building over on Spruce Street. I absolutely think we need an appraisal for that. That came up pretty late in the conversation. I would suggest that the little strips in the middle of the North Platte River, we don't need an appraisal for those, in my opinion. If it's a sellable lot, such as in the near Salt Creek Heights, the detention center, then I think we really do. But that's kind of how I'm looking at it, is sliver parcels versus stuff that we could actually sell. And to the extent we have a resolution that might indicate we need to get an appraisal for every little sliver, I think we also have some flexibility in that same resolution to find sufficient or good cause or make a decision that it's not necessary on some of those parcels. So I think I'm in agreement with that line.
I'm in agreement with that. If it's not a sellable lot per se, that I'm not worried too much about those. The value is going to be insignificant overall. And I don't think it's going to be additive to us. I think it'll cost us more than the property's worth, I guess, is really what it comes down to get an appraisal on it. So, any other opinions on that?
I think that you're correct. I think the cost of an appraisal is more than what it would be worth to even do it, and whether there would even be saleable. I thought we were just going to give them to the city anyway.
Well, we're getting the appraisal.
On the main.
Yeah,
The main
so
issues. Has that been ordered?
that's what we're working on
Okay,
right
yeah,
now.
because the
That's
manager
what
asked,
we're- that's what we're-
manager asked me where we were on
Yeah,
that.
that's what we're discussing right now. So, Commissioner Milne, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I just agree that the smaller parcels, that piece in the park, this, that, and the next thing that aren't usable property per se, as they are individually, then yeah, I don't think we need to worry about that. The sellable pieces, that should limit the scope of the appraisal a little bit more. Hopefully be able to get it done faster, potentially reduce that price. But even at that price, that's fine. We need to get going on this if that's what it costs to get this done, so that this has been a forever project to try to get the parks, the trails, the different lands on the mountain under parks control versus and get remove some of that property from the county ledgers. I'm all for it. So I'd suggest let's get moving on it.
Okay. Commissioner Nicolason, did you have?
Mr. Chairman, just for legal counsel, when the city manager was here, we talked about a temporary agreement for the lodge. And I just was going to ask our counsel if she had heard anything from city legal on that document.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Nicholas, I have not. I can touch base with their office and see where we're at with that.
I
Okay,
think that'd be
I
important.
did ask the city attorney if he would get moving on that. So, yeah, maybe a little fire in the right place. So, all right. So, do you need any other direction on this?
No, Mr. Chairman, we'll just revise the list of properties down and get you another quote to consider.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Have we got anything else for us?
I believe so, unless you have any questions of me on anything.
I don't at this time. Does any of the other commissioners have any questions for legal counsel? Okay. With this, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session, talk about personnel. You're not turning your,
Make the motion to adjourn into executive session for personnel.
Second.
okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. Okay. All right. We're now in executive session.
We did not get your message either because you were not speaking or because
Hello? Hello?
Okay,
Can you hear us now?
all right. We,
I could hear you before.
Okay, good, good.
okay, we have adjourned out of executive session. A decision was made for personnel. We will be offering an extension of our current appointment to our county attorney through the end of May of this year, since it's an annual appointment. We have nothing else on the agenda right now, so as of right now, we'll stand recessed until 5:30. Okay, we'll call this meeting to order, back to order. Start out with the approval of the consent agenda. Have a motion for approval.
Accept the consent agenda.
Have a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Laird and a second by Commissioner Coates for approval of the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So moved. All right. We'll move on into the public hearing. I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of the vacation portion of Fremont Street, Washakie Street, and Bucknam Avenue, and an alleyway in the West Crest subdivision in North Casper, Wyoming. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes, rules, and Natrona County Commission and other applicable laws. May we have the staff report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will give the staff report and try to provide information that is contained within the viewer's report since Mr. Hagler's unavailable today. Natrona County received a petition from Mr. John Lafferty, two petitions for the vacation of a portion of Fremont Street and Washakie Street. Later on, the petition was amended to include what would be the southerly portion of Bucknam Avenue that's adjacent to his property, and an alleyway that's within Block 15. Yes, you can see there, that is the hash marks are the streets, the area that he's asking to be vacated, including the alleyway, but in the middle there as well. The viewer's report does recommend vacating these portions adjacent to Mr. Lafferty's property. The petition was filed with the requisite number of petitioners in accordance with Wyoming state statutes. The commission previously accepted the viewer's report and set this hearing. Our office has sent notice of this hearing to interested landowners around the proposed vacation and anybody with a property interest over which the roads are, including any mortgage holders or easement holders. And we extended it to include lots that are not directly adjacent to the proposed vacation area. The commission set a deadline for damages, for written objections and claims for damages for March 10th of 2025, and no damages were received. We also published this twice in a newspaper in accordance with state statute as well. So we believe all the statutory requirements have been met for you to consider this. As I said, Mr. Hagler, his recommendation is that you go ahead and vacate the requested portions. I would note that on what would be the west side there, I guess that would be Fremont Street. That was vacated by the county commissioners previously. So this would just be cleaning up the easterly 30 feet that are adjacent to Mr. Lafferty's properties there. These roads are not being used for public thoroughfares either, at least not up where Mr. Lafferty's property is located. And I think that's all I have. If you have questions, I can try to answer them.
Okay, have we got any questions for the Commissioner Nicolason?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Heather, as I look at the East Street, which is Washakie Street, I think it's 60 feet wide, but I was thinking that the abandonment was only going to be the west 30 feet of Washakie. And I know some of the documentation, I think the legal descriptions talk about the 30 feet along Washakie Street. So if I've got it wrong, I'm sorry, but can you help me understand what's going on with respect to 30 versus 60 feet on Washakie?
I noticed that myself, Mr. Nicolais, and I believe that the right-of-way on the plat for the roads is 30 or 60 feet. So the request is just for the westerly 30 feet that are adjacent to Mr. Lafferty's properties. And that would be Block 15. Let me see here. Lots 8 through 17, and I'm not sure if the length of that is 60 feet. I think there may be a representative of Mr. Lafferty here who may be able to clarify that a little bit. But that is my assumption, is that the length from along lots 8 through 17 in block 15 is perhaps 60 feet.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? And you say there is a representative.
I believe there is, yes.
Please come up and clarify what you can. If you don't mind, state your name and address, please.
My name's Aaron Money. Our office is 849 Seaway Avenue. I was a land surveyor on this project. This is an older exhibit that we provided early on in the process. I do have the current one here if you'd like me to share that with you. It is going to be the 30 foot of Washakie Street, not the 60. Initially, Mr. Lafferty was hoping to get the 60 feet, but in dealing with Heather's office, we clarified that it usually is a split down the middle and goes half each way, so.
Okay. All right. So Washakie will still have access to those other lots then?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Money? Okay. Okay. Don't sit down yet.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, we noticed that within the legal description of the proposed resolution, we think Washakie Street has not been included in the third paragraph within the description there. And so I think we'll need to correct that just before, if you do approve the vacation this evening, before that's signed by the chairman.
Okay. Can we approve it with that correction? As part of the approval process, if we get to that point?
Yes, you can, and then I'll make sure that you get a copy that conforms with what you've approved this evening.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. Okay. Any of those wishing to speak in favor of vacating portions of Fremont Street, Washakie Street, Bucknam Avenue, in the alley of the West Crest subdivision of North Casper in Wyoming, please approach the lectern. All in favor, please approach the lectern. For the last time, all in favor, please approach the lectern. Okay. At this time, I would ask for individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the vacation portion of the Fremont Street, Washakie Street, and Bucknam Avenue, and the alley in the West Crest subdivision, North Casper, Wyoming. Please approach the lectern. The second time, anyone that's opposed, please approach the lectern. The last time, at this point, I would ask any individual who wishes to speak in opposition of the vacation portion of the Fremont Street, Washakie Street, and Bucknam Avenue, in the alley in the West Crest subdivision of North Casper, please approach the lectern. Okay, there being no opposition, we now close this. And we will move forward with any discussion. Go ahead, Commissioner Nicolason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would make a motion to approve the resolution vacating portions of Fremont Street, Washakie Street, and Bucknam Avenue in an alleyway in the West Crest subdivision. I think we need to, we have most of the legal description, but I think we need to add the words Washakie Street in the legal description. That would be my motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Nicolason, seconded by Commissioner Coates. Do we have any further discussion on that? Madam County Attorney, is that adequate for what we need to do on that to get that corrected?
Pardon me, Mr. Chairman. I think so. So what I would propose is that we'll provide a new resolution where the last sentence in the legal description will say that the western 30 feet of Washakie Street adjacent to lots 13 through 17 of Block 15 and the alleyway in Block 15 between lots 8 through 7 will be included in what the commission is vacating this evening.
Okay. Commissioner Nicolason, is that adequate?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Commissioner Coates, confirm your second? Okay, all right. With that, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. All right. With that, we will move into public comment. Mr. Representative, please state your name and address.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Tony Locke. I'm a Natrona County resident and House District 35 representative. And I just wanted to bring up a topic I know is going to be hot on your mind if it's not already. And I know it's a topic that's been discussed and bantered around quite a bit. And that's this, what occurred in the legislative session here over the last couple of months, property tax relief and some of that and the impact on the counties. I know I'm going to be talking with the city as well, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to say, there's a lot of stress, a lot of concern, a lot of stuff being spewed out there, and I'd just like to open up a conversation that says, I'd like to meet with you guys. We'll meet with other legislators. Want to make sure we start that conversation. I wanted to bring this up in public. I felt like it was important. We take a transparent look at this. We come together to work this out, and we basically try to make sure we're all talking to the same numbers and all working to the same goals. As many of you know, my approach to this, or at least the approach that I preferred, was to come in with a higher property tax relief amount, but with the intent to basically do some backfill at the county and city levels and try to make sure we took care of each other. I was looking at this from the state's asking the counties and cities to do things, and the state needs to control our spending and do some things as well. So that was the approach we tried to take. As you know, it didn't come out that way. But that being said, I just wanted to propose to the commission, I'd like to seek opportunities for us to meet, discuss this, make sure we do this as public and as transparent as we possibly can. Really, that's all it was. Just wanted to make sure I open this opportunity. We're all working to the same goals. We all serve the same people. And I just want to make sure we're all walking in the same direction and working in the same direction, make sure we take care of each other as we move ahead. So that was really all I had to say, and I stand for questions if you have any.
Any questions for
Thank you,
Commissioner
Mr.
Nicolason?
Chairman. Representative Locke, thanks for being here tonight. I think there is consternation of local government, of how they might be impacted and therefore how our departments may be impacted. And so I didn't know if you had seen the revenue estimating manual or anything of that sort from the state yet. I know I haven't seen it. I know once we get that, I think there are conversations to have, but I think at least I'm still uncertain about what the projected impacts are going to be. So have you seen anything from the state yet?
Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Commissioner. I have not seen specifically that report. That being said, I've pulled a huge body of data from the state in a variety of areas. Now, I know there's a lot of data to pour through, so I probably have not seen all the bits and pieces, but I do have estimates of those numbers. That data has been pulled from state data that I've gotten from the department, from the LSO, from the audit agencies, and a bunch of other organizations. So I pulled a bunch of that data. I've also pulled data from county reports as well to try to make sure that I'm being as accurate to the documentation that you've produced over the last several years as I possibly can. So I have pulled some of that data. I have not seen the specific report you're talking about, but happy to open it up. Not even saying I have the perfect numbers, but one of the things I am hearing that consternation, and I have a certain perspective on what those numbers look like, so I have those in detail, but I'd like to see what others have too, because I think that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to open up what I'm looking at, I want to see what other people are looking at. I want to say, let's at least look at the same numbers. And then let's just make sure that as we move forward, we're all marching to the same strategy. We serve the same people. So don't know if I answered your question, but probably haven't seen that specific document poured through a ton of data that I do have.
Okay, Commissioner Laird?
Are you really going to allow them to bury nuclear waste in Natrona County?
Separate topic. And not one that I would argue that I am sufficiently knowledgeable of. To be perfectly honest with you, I'm in the process of educating myself right now. So for me to give you an answer to what my opinion is or anything else, honestly, I don't have one right now. I'm in the process of educating myself on that. And quite frankly, I'm fairly new to the understanding this was coming. So consider that an error on my end, but I'm actually fairly new to this process, the
Was
understanding
something
what's
passed in the legislature allowing it?
I don't think that bill went through. I believe that bill, I don't remember where it died, but my understanding was that.
It died in the House Appropriations, or House Minerals is where it died.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wasn't sure where that was. And sorry about that, Mr. Chairman. I think I failed to properly address the commissioner.
So,
Please look into it deeply.
Absolutely. And I know Mr. Chairman, am I okay to speak?
yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
and I know there's some meetings happening next week. I'm trying to recommend or let as many people know as we possibly can. We need to get people to those meetings and try to get as informed as we possibly can. So
Where are they, what time, and what's the topic?
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead.
It is my understanding there's one, and I might be wrong, but I think there's one in Bar None next week. I heard that next Tuesday, I believe, evening, and I don't know the time. I think I heard 6, but I may be wrong. And then there's one where some legislators are also meeting with them on Tuesday at noon. They're having a smaller meeting where a group of legislators are meeting with them as well. Those are the two I'm aware of, and certainly I'm trying to let as many people know as I possibly can to make sure everyone's getting informed, and certainly we're being as transparent as we can.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
And thank you, Commissioner.
Rosemary Saban, Natrona County resident. Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Laird, to follow up with your question for Representative Locke, Radiant Nuclear is holding a meeting in Bar None at the Community Center from 6 to 8 on March 25th, if I didn't state that. This proposal does need to be known by the public, Casper, Bar None, because it is something that could affect all of us, and we should be knowledgeable about it. They're proposing that we build nuclear generators, reactors, and the storage is, I'll be honest, is a concern for me. I don't know that from what I've read and what I've understood about this, which is not a lot because it's still experimental, but it seems to be an up and up company. But I do encourage that people show up and have your questions answered. I will be there. Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Mr. Nicolason to provide some clarity. Mr. Nicolason, you were the chairman last year, and I have some concerns as to why you consider or continue to behave like you're the chairman this year. Specifically, when you hijack these meetings and ask the county attorney if what you're doing is okay, rather than asking the chairman when he is the chairman. I would like to know why you're doing that and why you do not pay attention to people that are up here addressing you. You work for us. Thank you kindly.
Anyone else?
Quite the Debbie Downer tonight, so. Okay, got 4 questions.
Name and address, please.
Judy Jones, 335 North 8 Mile, Casper. Okay, have we signed off on your denial of Haystack Solar?
Yes.
Okay, so now the clock ticks on their 30 days to do their thing. Good, thank you. Now, kind of was a little worried about this. Hal Hutchinson has been on the planning and zoning a long time. I think he's passed his terms. Because if I remember reading that correctly, they get 2 terms and then they have to go and a new member comes in. Well, I'm counting about 14 years he's been there and it's more than 2 terms. And third, have you guys decided on what you're going to do with rules of procedure, whether you're going to do parliamentary or if you're going to do Robert's rules? Has anybody made a decision on that? And is it forthcoming?
We're still looking.
Okay. You guys are, Dave said you guys were working on the land plan. Can you give us a rundown of where you're at on it?
We're all right here.
Okay. That's kind of all I had tonight because I am not for this nuke facility out there. I think it should be exactly how planning designs something like that in heavy industrial away from populations in case something does go wrong because it does say experimental, and that's kind of important because what if something really does happen and we end up killing a bunch of people? Or they get breast cancer, liver cancer. Me, I'm the cancer nut, man. I don't want anything around me like that. But anyway, I'd like to know the finish on that, and if you could address Hal's deal, what you got planned for it. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Nope. All right. We don't have anybody else for public comment, commissioner comments. Commissioner Nick Lason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With respect to the Radiant company coming to town, I think just for clarification, they're not talking about burying nuclear waste. So there was some legislative discussion about that. This company, that's not part of what they're talking about. 2 totally separate things. I think that if the public can go to this meeting or these meetings next week, I think they'll hear some good information to help their education. My understanding is that the storage is, quote, temporary, but the facility is approved by the is it FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. It's approved by the federal government, and it's not easy to get that approval, and there are a lot of specifications and requirements for what is above ground temporary cask storage. I don't know a lot about it, but I do know that it's not buried forever kind of stuff. That said, temporary could be a long time, especially under kind of how nuclear waste is dealt with today. There is also, my understanding is that technology does not lend itself to kind of those classic 1970s, 1980s 3 Mile Island situation at all in terms of they're not water cooled and that they use technology to specifically avoid air contamination, people downwind kind of Chernobyl kind of stuff. It's not like that at all. It's a different technology. So the public will hopefully become more educated on it, and then we'll see where it goes from there. I wanted to say briefly to one of the people commenting, she has my cell phone number. Last time we met was, I think, a couple years ago when I reached out to her. I'm not interested in kind of a back and forth gotcha moment with people. If people have legitimate questions for me about what we're doing or what we did, then I'm happy to engage in those conversations. But to do it as a gotcha moment for public TV or for trolling online or whatever, I don't think that's useful. I do pay attention to what everybody says. I don't have any concerns about the appropriateness for me to confer with legal counsel or my fellow commissioners. I think that's pretty clear that that's part of our job. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Milne, can you hear us?
Yeah, I have nothing.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Laird?
Well, it's important in life to get along with your fellows and ladies. And sometimes it becomes difficult to do that. So every now and then you need a reminder. So for myself personally, I apologize to the public and everybody in this room for not having been a gentleman on certain occasions. I forgot myself, and I'm hoping that that this was my wake-up call on how I should handle matters. I think it is. And so, without further ado, thank you all for coming.
Commissioner Coates?
Just briefly, wanted to thank our representatives for attending tonight. Thank you very much for all the work you did down in Cheyenne. That was a tough time for everyone down there, but it is much appreciated, everything that you've done for the people of Wyoming. That's all I have. Thank you.
We've got a lot of stuff going on in the county. Spent more time watching the legislative session this year than I have ever done before. And I honestly could say that I had absolutely no idea what was going to come out of it until it was done. And I do appreciate there was a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of stuff that went on down there this year. I do appreciate you trying to get backfill to cover some of the cuts that were in there this year. I think there's a lot of people that don't quite understand how many different bills were tried to be pushed through that took care of not only the cities and the counties, but also our fire districts and some of the others that were important to us. I am greatly appreciative of the fact that we got some legislation pushed through to help those people in the northeast corner of the state that had so many fires go through that area last year. And there was a lot of things that came out of that. I'm glad that the NRCS, our local weed and pest agencies, are working with those groups with that funding to make sure that we don't have a mass influx of invasive species like cheatgrass in those areas, because that's going to be a big problem. We've been dealing with that all over the state for a long time, and it's a fire species. It comes in first right after the fires, and it'll choke things out. So I'm glad that we're ahead of that game, that we can actually get in there and do some work to make sure that that's not a problem for our ranchers. And cheatgrass just gets worse and worse. It just presents more of a opportunity for more wildland fires. And I am glad that that was taken care of, that we did take some proactive measures to get that taken care of. There was a lot of legislation that came out this year. Some I really liked, and some were kind of, I don't know. So, but that's you guys' job. That wasn't ours. And but I do appreciate everything you've done. I appreciate the employees that we have in this county, and I appreciate what they do. And too much of the time they're undervalued. And I think that's something that goes across the board. We've had a lot of individuals that have had surgeries and other things, and I pray for their quick recovery so they can get back to work and help us out again. So, and with that, this meeting is adjourned.